I have been asking this question since I was a kid. What's the point? Why are we here? I looked everywhere for answers philosophy, psychology, even religion. And honestly, nothing clicked until I found something unexpected. Not a single answer, a pattern, something that kept showing up. And today, I'm going to share exactly what I found because I think it might change how you see everything.
At some point, usually at 2 in the morning or right after something falls apart, almost every person on Earth asks the exact same question. What is the actual point of any of this? You are not the first person to lie awake with that question, and you will not be the last. Philosophers have been arguing about it for 3,000 years. A psychiatrist tested it inside a Nazi concentration camp and lived to write down what he found. And in the last 20 years, psychologists have actually run experiments trying to measure it, like a real, quantifiable thing. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they found, and it's not the answer you're expecting. Here's the first thing almost nobody tells you. This question has actually been attacked from 3 completely different directions, and each one is quietly answering something slightly different. Religion asks, what was life built for? Philosophy asks, what makes a life worth living, even if nothing built it for anything? And psychology asks the most practical version of all, what actually, measurably, makes a human being feel like their life means something? And can we prove it? Most people spend years frustrated by this question without realizing they've been mixing up 3 different questions the entire time. Let's start where humanity started with religion, since for most of history this was simply the answer, full stop, no debate. Nearly every major tradition proposes that life has meaning because it was designed with a purpose, whether that's serving a divine plan, growing across lifetimes, or fulfilling a duty to something larger than the self. Here's what's genuinely strange about that. Ancient Mesopotamia, classical India, and medieval Europe had almost no contact with each other, and yet they all landed on some version of the same core idea. Your life has to connect to something bigger than you, or it doesn't fully make sense. The specific gods and rules were different everywhere. The underlying hunger was identical. Then, in the 1800s and 1900s, a group of philosophers looked at that same hunger and said something that terrified a lot of people at the time. Thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus argued the universe has no built-in meaning whatsoever. No plan, no script hidden underneath reality waiting to be discovered. Camus called this collision the absurd, humans desperately demanding meaning from a universe that simply refuses to hand any over. His answer wasn't despair though, which is the part people usually skip. He wrote about Sisyphus, the man condemned to push a boulder up a hill forever, watching it roll back down every single time, and said you have to imagine him happy. Not because the boulder stops rolling, because he keeps choosing to push it anyway. That idea, meaning isn't discovered, it's built, became the backbone of most modern thinking on this question. If nothing outside you is handing you a purpose, then purpose is something you're actually free to construct from scratch. On paper, that sounds like freedom. In real life, it's exactly why this question keeps people up at night. Being handed a purpose is easy. You can accept it or reject it. Being told you have to build your own, with no instructions, no guarantee, and no one checking your work, is a heavier kind of freedom than most people signed up for. Here's where this stops being theory and becomes something you can't argue with. Because one man tested it under the worst conditions a human being has ever survived. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist held in 4 different Nazi concentration camps, where his parents, his brother, and his pregnant wife were all killed. Inside those camps, he noticed something the guards never expected anyone to notice. The prisoners who survived longest weren't always the physically strongest. They were the ones holding onto some specific reason to keep going, someone waiting for them outside, unfinished work calling them back, or simply the decision to face unbearable suffering with dignity instead of letting it erase them. He wrote a line afterward that has now outlived him by decades. Those who have a reason to live can endure almost any way of living. After the war, Frankl built an entire therapy around that observation, called logotherapy, based on a single core claim that the drive to find meaning, not pleasure, not power, is what actually moves human beings. He mapped 3 specific roads to it. Work, completing something that genuinely matters to you. Love, truly connecting with another person. And the one people always forget, the attitude you deliberately choose towards suffering you cannot escape or fix. That 3rd road is what made his work so different from everything before it. Meaning wasn't only available in the good chapters of your life. It could be built, on purpose, inside the worst one. Now let's bring this into the present, because psychology eventually got tired of just theorizing and actually started measuring it. Social psychologist Roy Baumeister spent years reviewing research across psychology, sociology, and anthropology, and landed on 4 specific needs that seem to drive whether a life feels meaningful. Purpose, having goals that give your actions somewhere to point. Values, believing your actions are justified as right or good. Efficacy, believing what you do actually changes something. And self-worth, feeling like you matter and sensing other people would agree. When all 4 are present, people report meaning almost automatically. When even one is quietly missing, people describe their life as hollow, no matter how impressive it looks from the outside. One finding tied to Baumeister's research is uncomfortable enough that it's worth sitting with. Researchers found that when people were deliberately excluded from a group, even in a low-stakes experiment lasting only minutes, their sense that life felt meaningful dropped immediately. Not just their mood, their actual sense that their existence made sense. Rejection didn't just sting emotionally. It briefly knocked out their ability to feel like anything mattered at all. That's one of the clearest signals we have that meaning was never a private idea you build alone in a locked room in your head. It's tangled up tightly with other people, whether that's convenient to admit or not. So here's the reframe, once you actually lay all 3 side by side. Religion, philosophy, and psychology were never giving 3 competing answers. They were describing the same pattern from 3 different rooms in the same house. Religion says, connect to something bigger than yourself. Existentialism says, you have to build that connection yourself, because nothing hands it over automatically. And psychology quietly confirms both were onto something real. Purpose, values, competence, and connection to other people are the actual measurable ingredients, no matter which belief system you frame them inside. Here's the twist that catches most people off guard the first time they hear it. Meaning and happiness are not the same thing, and chasing happiness directly can actually leave you feeling emptier. Researchers who studied the difference found that a meaningful life often involves real stress, sacrifice, and effort. Raising a child through sleepless years, building something that takes a decade, showing up for people through the worst season of their life, none of which feels particularly good while it's happening. A purely happy life, by contrast, tends to be easier, more self-focused, lower stress, and people who chase only that report feeling strangely hollow over time anyway. Meaning, it turns out, is usually built out of exactly the things that don't feel good in the moment you're doing them. So how do you actually use any of this starting today? 3 steps straight from the research. Step 1, audit your 4 needs honestly right now. Do I have a real purpose? Do I believe my actions are justified and good? Do I feel effective? Do I feel valued? Whichever one feels weakest is usually the real source of that hollow feeling, not your entire life. Step 2, pick one of Frankl's 3 roads and act on it this week. Finish something that actually matters to you, reach out to someone you love, or deliberately choose your attitude toward something hard you're already facing anyway. Step 3, protect your connections on purpose. Given how fast rejection damages meaning and how fast belonging restores it, guarding your close relationships isn't the soft, secondary priority everyone treats it as. Based on the actual research, it might be the main one, and here's something worth sitting with before we close this out. Across 3,000 years of philosophy, every major religion, and decades of actual psychological data, nobody, not one tradition, not one researcher, has ever produced a single universal answer that satisfies everybody. That's not because the question is broken or unanswerable. It's because the honest answer keeps turning out to be personal, built rather than found, made out of purpose, connection, and what you choose to do with the hardest parts, never handed to you fully formed from somewhere outside yourself. So here's a real question, not a rhetorical one. Out of the 4, purpose, values, feeling effective, or feeling valued, which one feels weakest in your life right now? Put a single word in the comments. I actually want to read them. If this gave you something real to sit with instead of another empty quote, hit like. Subscribe for more deep dives that use actual research instead of vibes. And send this to the one person you know who's been quietly wrestling with this exact question. See you in the next one.